Hello, I'm Roland Smith. 100 years ago this month, a unique American who was head of one of this country's most outstanding families sponsored an expedition to Alaska. Edward H. Harriman led a group of 25 of the nation's leading scientists, naturalists, artists, and writers on a 2-month, 9,000-mile journey into the wilderness. Harriman took along his wife and 5 children to share in the experience. This is the story of that journey and that extraordinary family. The chartered steamer departed Seattle outfitted like a floating university. Its mission was onshore excursions and the collecting of natural specimens. Some of the lasting gifts of the expedition were a plethora of critical baseline information on flora and fauna, later published in 17 volumes of information by the Smithsonian Institution. Also, a glacier was founded that still bears the Harriman name. Some notables joining the Harrimans on this expedition: naturalists John Burroughs and John Muir, who was curator of the Natural History Museum, founded the Sierra Club, and was instrumental in the expansion of Yosemite Park. George Bird Grinnell, editor of Field and Stream, geographer Henry Gannett, Edward Curtis, the photographer who took this picture, and who became renowned for his exhaustive studies of Native Americans, B.K. Emerson, and G.K. Gilbert, a geologist acknowledged today as the most brilliant scientist in the group. What moved E.H. Harriman to be so aware of the environment? It seems to have been an innate quality. He was aware of man's interconnection with nature. Harriman was a self-made man who began working in the New York Stock Exchange at the age of 14. 8 years later, he held a seat on the exchange and became one of the street's best brokers. His business acumen became apparent when he transformed a bankrupt 34-mile rail line in New York into an empire covering 1/3 of the United States. But Harriman also gave back to the community by establishing land preservation initiatives and by sponsoring various civic and philanthropic endeavors that benefit the Hudson Valley and the world up to today. Harriman married Mary Williamson in 1879. They and their children came to live in Arden House, an estate in Orange County overlooking the Ramapo Mountains. The estate grew to include 40,000 acres, much of which has become public land that is enjoyed by hundreds of thousands annually. E.H. Harriman died in 1909 and left his entire estate to his wife, Mary. An astute businesswoman, Mary Harriman donated 10,000 acres and $1 million to form the nucleus of Bear Mountain Harriman State Park, which today includes almost 52,000 acres. The park celebrated its 90th anniversary in June 1999. This gift enabled the expansion of the Palisades Interstate Park Commission, one of the nation's foremost conservation and recreation areas, which is now comprised of over 85,000 acres across New York and New Jersey. Mary Williamson Harriman died in 1932, leaving her fortune and vision to her children. Thankfully, the Harriman children also inherited their parents' affinity and social responsibility and philanthropic benevolence, especially land preservation. Harriman's eldest daughter, also named Mary, helped in overseeing the Arden farms at the family estate. As a young woman of 19, rather than having a debutante cotillion for herself, Mary established the Junior League. In 1910, she married sculptor and sportsman Charles Rumsey, who made many art pieces that still adorn the Arden House. Mary became an important figure in the Democratic Party, counting as friends Eleanor Roosevelt and Frances Perkins, the first woman member of a president's cabinet. The oldest male child, Henry Nielsen Harriman, died at the age of 4 in the Great Chicago Diphtheria Epidemic in 1888. The next eldest daughter, Cornelia, was instrumental in the bringing of polo ponies to Arden, making those stables the most famous for polo in the United States during the 1920s. She wed Robert Livingston Gary in 1908. The Gary estate in Delhi, New York, remains the center of this family's branch's farming and philanthropic interests, and later including a camp for disadvantaged boys. Carol Harriman also had a love of horses. She married banker and polo player R. Penn Smith. but was widowed in 1929. After a later marriage to W. Plunkett Stewart, Carol became a noted horsewoman who bred, raised, and raced Pasteurized, the winner of the 1938 Belmont Stakes. In a joint endeavor with the King Ranch of Texas, the Stewarts were able to preserve 25,000 acres of land in Chester County, Pennsylvania. Fifth-born William Averill Harriman, as the eldest living son, inherited his father's position as corporate leader, becoming a shipbuilder, railroad man, banker, and developer of America's first ski resort, Sun Valley, Idaho. Averill was equally well known for his skills in politics and diplomacy. He served as U.S. Ambassador to the Soviet Union and Great Britain, U.S. Secretary of Commerce, Chief Marshall Plan Administrator, New York State Governor, U.S. Envoy to the Vietnam War Paris Peace Talks, roving ambassador to President Kennedy, ambassador at large under President Johnson, and advisor to President Carter. Averill was married to Kitty Lawrence, Marie Norton Whitney, and Pamela Digby Churchill Hayward. Averill continued the family's support of conservation initiatives through additional land grants to the Palisades Park Commission, on whose board a Harriman served as commissioner from 1911 through 1996. Youngest son, Edward Rowland, became known as a gentleman farmer as well as an investment banker. He joined his brother in leading and supporting land preservation issues. Together, they donated 1,000 acres of land to the town of Monroe for the creation of a local school district. Averill arranged the gift of Arden House to Columbia University, and with Rowland's help, had the home outfitted as a conference center. Rowland donated his residence, the homestead as well. The combined gifts totaled over 1,500 acres. With his wife Gladys, Rowland deeded 11,000 acres of land to the people of Idaho to form yet another Harriman State Park, which opened in 1982. The donation carries stipulations to protect the land and its natural resources, plus leading to the creation of the Idaho Department of Parks and Recreation. 75 years ago, Rowland arranged the funding for construction of the Bear Mountain Bridge, which was the only Hudson River crossing between New York City and Albany at the time. Control of the bridge was taken over by New York State in 1940. Rowland also served as chairman of the Red Cross, a worthy organization still supported today by the Gladys and Rowland Harriman Foundation. His passion for horses and the sport of harness racing led Rowland and his wife Gladys, brother Averill, and nephew Eldridge T. Gary II to form the Harness Racing Museum Hall of Fame in Goshen, New York. The foresight, commitment to land preservation, environmentalism, philanthropy, civic responsibility, and love of the outdoors has laid a solid foundation upon which current generations of Harrimans, now in communities across the country, continue to build. Fourth-generation Harrimans were instrumental in saving Sterling Forest, a natural land of 17,500 acres just 35 miles north of New York City. This is considered the most significant land conservation achievement of this decade, protecting a portion of the Appalachian Trail and linking Hewitt State Park in New Jersey with Harriman State Park in New York. The Pennsylvania branch of the family works under the auspices of SAVE, preserving agricultural land, open spaces, and sensitive resources. We now acknowledge the family branches and their work in the environment and community philanthropy. From the age of high-powered industrialists, Andrew Carnegie gave money for libraries. E.H. Harriman, on the other hand, acquired land for public parks. Harriman asked, "What do you think the public likes best, parks or libraries?" He was certain people preferred open spaces. Captured on a bronze of Rowland and his wife Gladys at the entrance of the Harness Racing Hall of Fame is the advice that E.H. Harriman gave to his children: leave whatever you touch better off for your having touched it. Indeed, this is what the family has done. People of this country are much better off because of the dedication and forward thinking of the Harrimans. It is with great respect and gratitude that Scenic Hudson honors the Harrimans as part of our 7th annual Spirit of the River Gala. Due to the Harriman insight and commitment to the environment and related causes, appreciation of our American heritage, open space, and nature endures.
Water, a basic need for survival. The mighty Hudson River, a majestic 315-mile-long waterway that travels from the Adirondack Mountains to New York City, where it empties into Upper New York Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. Steeped in history, folklore, and scenic vistas, the river captivated our ancestors, provided access to rich farmland and commerce, and served as inspiration for poetry, art, and literature. Home to more than 200 species of fish, today the Hudson serves as a drinking water supply and recreational resource for thousands. Despite these benefits, the river's fragile ecosystem, its balanced network of tributaries, and essential spawning grounds remain constantly at risk. Daily, the river suffers from neglect and pollution. In February 1998, second grade student Josh Taubes wrote to Scenic Hudson expressing concern about trash floating in the Hudson River. Sparked by Josh's plea, Scenic Hudson created the Great River Sweep, our annual volunteer cleanup and beautification of the shorelines, tributaries, and public places of the Hudson River from Manhattan to Albany. Within 2 years, the event more than doubled in size, drawing 2,500 volunteers to 84 cleanups in 64 communities in 1999 alone. Each year, through this ambitious effort, more than 200 miles of shoreline are ridded of literally tons of trash and debris. The Great River Sweep is pegged the largest volunteer effort the Hudson Valley has ever seen. Newspaper and radio coverage of the event is abundant, and the Great River Sweep has captured national media attention through coverage on ABC TV's Good Morning America show. The Great River Sweep represents humanity at its noblest. I'm eager to be associated with joining in this act of fierce love.
Now with celebrity endorsements of Toni Morrison, Bette Midler's New York Restoration Project, William Hurt, and Pete Seeger, and with corporate sponsorship from KeyBank and Patagonia, Scenic Hudson's Great River Sweep will move to a higher level of public awareness and a greater commitment to community pride and community service.
My concern for the future of the river is really part of my concern for the future of the world. And saving the river is part of this whole picture. And I'm a great fan of that slogan, think globally, act locally. To have one day a year when you can concentrate on this job, or 1 week a year, is a very good organization like this. Some will make it on a weekend, some will make it on a weekday. They'll go as a group, and they'll have fun, and they'll learn. And after it's all over, they realized that they're part of a huge worldwide movement to save this planet.
Community support and volunteerism are very important to KeyBank. In fact, once a year we have what we call Neighbors Make a Difference Day. And last year we had almost 100% volunteer support from bank employees. And this is just a natural extension of that effort.
We have decided to support Scenic Hudson on a long-term basis, not only with River Sweep, but with all of their preservation and conservation efforts in the Hudson Valley here, as a local group that we'd like to support for all of their environmental efforts.
The river itself is life. The river has sustained us since the very beginning. The river has nourished our soil, carried our commerce, sustained our wildlife, provided sustenance, and quenched our thirst. The river has given so much to us, and now it's just terrific to see us giving back to the river and taking care of the river and restoring it back to what the river is supposed to be.
Each year, a kickoff event, complete with music and educational activities, signals the official beginning of the Great River Sweep, where volunteers join hands up and down and on both sides of the river to celebrate the river's history, to show their community pride, and to commit to the river's care by participating in a grassroots cleanup. A sampling of one year's cleanup efforts included the following. Environmentalists and Cub Scouts in Highland, Ulster County collected 4 truckloads of trash, including 37 tires, a swimming pool liner, hundreds of empty bottles and cans, and a 16-foot section of guardrail. In Yonkers, Westchester County, 42 bags of trash were collected along a quarter-mile stretch. In Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County, more than 6 tons of trash was collected along the Fallkill Creek. As creator of this event, Scenic Hudson empowers communities with resources to organize cleanups throughout the valley. We provide a list of tools, an insurance waiver, posters, press releases, and information about connecting with municipal services such as trash collection. In Rhinebeck, Dutchess County, River Sweep organizer Cynthia Phillips transformed a cleanup into a community-wide event, complete with a street fair and parade with a marching band and river memorabilia.
Scenic Hudson had set up a format for us to pour our energies into, and that it worked like magic. The town passed a mighty resolution declaring this Great River Sweep Day, and then the Chamber of Commerce came in. Phantom Gardener has given us a load of mulch for our gardening, and various people have said that they would help out.
This has really been an extraordinary effort, and I think demonstrates what young people can do if they set their minds to it and have an important cause to work on.
My name is Steve Sansola. I live in Rhinebeck. I've been here 14 years, and my wife and kids are involved with Girl Scouts. I've been involved politically in the town, and just think it's real important to contribute back to the valley and make sure our river stays clean, so my kids will enjoy it someday.
I remember, when I was a kid, if you fell in the river, you were, people said you were a dead man. Then there was a tremendous effort, to try to clean things up. And if it keeps going that way, if people keep taking care of it, it'll still have the taste of what it once was. And if you have a relationship to a river, it can be magically satisfying to your life.
The Great River Sweep is going to teach people all the way from the oceans to the mountain that it's really one beautiful valley. You might say the river has brought us together. The river connects us. Whether we live in a crowded town or in an isolated place, it's one river that's pulling us together, like we're one human race. And when we work together on this cleanup, we'll be reinforcing this new understanding that we're working together. It's going to be a great week. I'm looking forward to participating.
Based in Poughkeepsie, New York, Scenic Hudson is a nonprofit environmental organization and separately incorporated land trust dedicated to protecting and enhancing the scenic, natural, historic, and recreational treasures of the Hudson River and its valley. Show your support of the mighty Hudson, our American heritage river, by becoming a Great River Sweep participant or coordinator. Protect this river now and for the future. Through this grassroots event, a new chapter in Hudson River history will be written as we look at our riverfront and shoreside open spaces as a wellspring for identity and urban renewal.
Hello, my name is William Hurt, and I live on the Hudson River. And I'm here to support the Scenic Hudson's Great River Sweep from April 29th to May 7th, and we're hoping that you will too. If you are, please call 914-473-TIDE, TIDE. Thank you.
Scenic Hudson's Great River Sweep is an annual volunteer cleanup of the Hudson River shorelines and tributaries from Manhattan to Albany.